The story of the Scots begins not with written words, but with wind, stone, and silence, in a land shaped by ice and fire long before memory, where the first human footsteps reached what we now call Scotland more than 12,000 years ago as the great glaciers retreated, revealing a rugged world of mountains, lochs, forests, and endless sky, and those early hunter-gatherers followed herds across valleys and coastlines, leaving behind only faint traces of flint tools and hearth fires. Yet, even then the land itself began shaping a people who would grow resilient, independent, and deeply tied to place, and as millennia passed, these early communities settled, farming the soil, raising stone circles like Callanish and Stennis that aligned with sun and stars, suggesting a worldview steeped in ritual, time, and nature, and by the Iron Age fortified hill forts crowned the high places, symbols of both protection and power, while tribal societies emerged, fiercely local yet deeply, connected through trade and kinship. And when the Romans arrived in the 1st century A.D., they encountered not a single nation but a mosaic of tribes they called Caledonians, people who resisted conquest with guerrilla tactics, knowledge of terrain, and an unbreakable will, forcing Rome to build walls. Hadrian's Wall and later the Antonine Wall. Not to conquer Scotland, but to keep it out, and north of those walls lived the Picts, mysterious in language and custom, carving symbol stones that still puzzle historians, ruling through warrior kings and possibly matrilineal succession, while the West Gaelic settlers from Ireland founded the kingdom of Dalriada, bringing with them the Gaelic language, seafaring culture, and bardic traditions that would one day define Highland identity. And over centuries, these groups collided, merged, and transformed, especially as Viking longships cut through northern seas, raiding monasteries, settling the islands of Orkney, Shetland, and the Hebrides, leaving Norse blood, place names, and laws embedded into Scottish soil. And from this crucible of Pict, Gael, Briton, and Norse emerged the Kingdom of Alba in the 9th century under Kenneth MacAlpin, marking the birth of a unified Scotland. Though unity did not mean peace, for medieval Scotland was forged in constant struggle, with feudal systems taking root, castles rising from rock, monasteries preserving learning, and kings balancing power against powerful clans and ambitious nobles, while Scotland's relationship with England grew increasingly tense, especially after the death of Alexander III and the Maid of Norway, plunging the kingdom into crisis and inviting English intervention, sparking the Wars of Independence, where figures like William Wallace and Robert the Bruce rose not merely as men, but as symbols of defiance, with Wallace's brutal execution, igniting rebellion rather than crushing it, and Bruce's eventual victory at Bannockburn in 1314 securing Scotland's independence against overwhelming odds, reinforcing a national identity rooted in resistance and self-rule. And as centuries passed, Scotland evolved to the Renaissance and Reformation, embracing Presbyterianism under John Knox, rejecting papal authority, reshaping society around Kirk, discipline, and education, while clan culture flourished in the Highlands, bound by loyalty, tartan, oral history, and ancient codes of honor. Even as lowland Scotland grew increasingly urban, commercial, and outward-looking, and the Union of the Crowns in 1603 placed a Scottish king, James VI, on the English throne, followed by the 1707 Act of Union that dissolved Scotland's independent parliament, creating Great Britain, a decision still debated today. And though the Union brought economic opportunity and imperial reach, it also fueled resentment, particularly in the Highlands, where Jacobite risings sought to restore the Stuart monarchy, culminating in the tragic defeat at Culloden in 1746, after which the British state dismantled clan power, banning tartan, disarming Highlanders, and reshaping the region through brutal clearances that forced thousands from ancestral lands into exile or industrial cities. Yet even in displacement, Scottish identity endured. Carried across oceans to Canada, America, Australia, and beyond, where Scots became soldiers, engineers, philosophers, and pioneers, while at home the Scottish Enlightenment transformed the world through thinkers like Adam Smith and David Hume, redefining economics, philosophy, and modern thought, and the Industrial Revolution turned cities like Glasgow into engines of empire, shipbuilding, trade, and innovation, though not without hardship, poverty, and struggle. And in the 20th century, Scotland paid heavily in global wars, its regiments earning fearsome reputations, while post-war decline sparked cultural revival, political awakening, and renewed calls for self-determination, leading to devolution in 1999 and the re-establishment of the Scottish Parliament, ensuring that the ancient voice of this land still speaks. And today, Scotland stands as a nation layered with memory, where mist drifts over battlefields, where stone circles still watch the sky, where bagpipes echo grief and pride, and where the story of the Scots continues, not as a relic of the past, but as a living history shaped by endurance, courage, and the unyielding bond between people and land, a story meant not to rush, but to settle gently into the mind, like rain on heather, carrying you into rest as centuries drift quietly by.